What's going on, and welcome back to another gear review and setup. And in this video we're going to be going over the Crye Precision SPC, or the Airlight plate carrier. Now, to kick it off with just some very general data, this guy is going to cost you about $300 as it sits and as you see it right here. You're going to have to add all of the different parts and components to your cart to make sure that you have a complete plate carrier. But as it sits, it's going to cost you roughly $150 for the plate bags, both front and back, and then about $150 for the cummerbund. So it is fairly reasonable when it comes down to it. I do think it's a very fair and competitive price compared to a lot of the other plate carriers on the market. So just expect to pay about $300 for just the plate carrier, plate bags, and the cummerbund. And then if you want to add anything on top of that, you're going to definitely increase the price of the whole entire system. But with that, there are two different versions. There is the swimmer's cut version, and then there is also the standard sappy plate version. I would recommend just going with the sappy plate version because you can still run the swimmer cut plates in there. I don't know if that compatibility is the same for the swimmer cut over to the sappy plates. So with that, before I get too far into it, there is something that I want to specifically talk about, and this is going to be a big recommendation that I'm going to make across all plate carrier systems, and anybody that's considering purchasing this versus a lot of other products that are out on the market, or in comparison to a lot of products that are out on the market. When you're looking for plate carriers, and this is going to be kind of why I think this is one of the best plate carriers in the industry, you have to look at how compatible the plate carrier is with aftermarket products that are not from the manufacturer, as well as how scalable that plate carrier is. For this guy, compatibility, it's pretty much compatible with most everything that's on the market, minus a few products here and there. But Crye does make some products that kind of compensate for where you can't do stuff with, like, say, an elastic cummerbund from, I believe it's Faro Concepts or Spiritus Systems. I have that elastic cummerbund for my Tier Tactical plate carrier, and it's one of the best investments that I made for it, especially when I'm out on the range just instructing and I'm not doing a whole lot as far as more complex stuff in the training realm. But Crye has their own version of elastic cummerbund that is compatible with this, compared to some of the other products out there where you have the ability to just Velcro into the front and to the back plate bag pockets and set up that elastic cummerbund. But with that, pretty much everything else on the market is fairly free game and compatible with this, minus back panels. Crye has their own back panels thing going on, which I think is good for their systems. But in conjunction with the compatibility piece, the adaptability piece is one of the biggest things that I think this plate carrier has over every plate carrier on the market. When it comes down to it, the Crye Airlight or SPC plate carrier can be configured to run in a very kind of covert, clandestine, or concealed configuration, to where you can run it underneath uniforms or under clothing and be fairly inconspicuous with it, especially depending on which plates you're running. If you're running a very lightweight, or I shouldn't say lightweight, but if you're running a level 4 plate, or 3+ plate, that's roughly 0.75 inches, maybe a little bit less, 3 to 4 or 5 pounds. If you're really looking at those high-end plates, you can definitely get this thing to be very tight and close to the body to where you don't really notice it. You'll notice it, but it's a little bit harder. You kind of have to take a double take to see that plate carrier underneath the body. So for law enforcement, I think this is one of the best plate carriers out there for you guys, because you can run soft body both behind the hard plates and on the cummerbunds. There are some things I'll get into. T3, or Trident Tactical Technical, I believe is the company, has side panel things that you can add to this. So you can set this up to be full, patrol, I would say patrol configuration, to where you have the soft body on the sides, maybe hard plates, and then you have a hard plate or just a soft plate in the front, depending on what the policies are that are out there. So for concealment, covert, clandestine configurations, this thing does pretty well when it comes down to it. And it also doesn't really project like that, in my opinion, military configuration with MOLLE, and how I know some law enforcement agencies get pretty particular about MOLLE on a plate carrier. With a laser cut system, I think it kind of gets away from that. So I definitely think that's a win for you guys. But in addition to that low profile, low vis concealment clandestine configuration or covert configuration, you can then scale this thing all the way up to a full mission profile, kind of, and I kind of compare this to conventional military and SWAT, law enforcement, teams and all of that. You can run the DAPs, you can run neck protectors, you can run the groin protector, you can run the back protector. You can set this entire thing up to where you have almost essentially 360 degrees of body armor around your body. I think it's completely unnecessary, but for the departments and the organizations that require all of that additional equipment, you can absolutely do it with this plate carrier. So this plate carrier in and of itself can go from the low vis concealment all the way to the full battle rattle juggernaut looking thing, to where you have everything that you need for the potential threats that you may face. My opinion can kind of irrelevant at that point, but if you need that full range of capabilities in that low vis to full mission profile, you can definitely do it with this system. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox with that. I just want to really articulate that piece with this, because I do think it does a very good job. So highly recommend it when it comes down to it. So I'm going to dig into the actual plate carrier itself, kind of show you 360 what this thing is, what's going on with it, and then that way hopefully it will help you determine whether or not you want to go with this plate carrier or a different plate carrier that's out on the market. So front of the plate carrier, you have a little bit of laser cut moly up at the top and kind of in the middle of the plate carrier. This thing is compatible with a lot of the older Crye Precision products that are out there, so you can run those on here when it comes to the magazine panels and all that, and then you can also run a lot of other aftermarket systems as well. For this one, and how I'm going to configure this for my wife and for her kind of patrol configuration for law enforcement, for the stuff that she's going to be getting into, I'm going to run the Shaw Concepts Elastic 556 magazine panel version 2 on top of this, to where it can disconnect and connect fairly easily. So if she needs this in the low vis concealment configuration, she can do that, and then when a situation arises where she needs to plus up or enhance the system, she can quickly buckle in the magazine panel and then be able to adjust on the fly rather quickly. So as far as all of that goes, you have a lot of capability. If you're going to run plastic buckles, you can run those through here. If you're going to run the panels, you can run them through all of the laser cut kind of moly that's right here, and then everything will pretty much Velcro right into place right there. With that, when it comes to the overall system, and another feature that I think is really nice with this plate carrier compared to a lot of the other ones that are out there, and a lot of other Crye products that are out there, and how this one beats pretty much all the other Crye products in my opinion, the entire plate bag system is essentially one piece, or one piece of the PVC fabric material that's just cut into one piece. So you have the front plate bag and how it's all cut together, or cut and then sewn together here on the back. So it's essentially just the plate bag or front, and then the elastic and mesh piece that connects everything and holds that plate into place. The back is essentially the same exact setup and configuration. You have the single cut piece of PVC fabric, and then you have just the sewn points on the side where the mesh and everything connects together. Why I think that's a huge or very important feature is because when you look at some of the older systems from Crye Precision, like the JPC and the AVS, they have stitching points right here on the sides of the or on the sides of the shoulder straps, and where the shoulder straps connect to the actual plate bag. It was a huge failure point for a lot of guys, because I would see them blow out the stitching all the time, and then they'd have to try and figure out how to fix their plate carrier because we couldn't get replacements, or whatever the case may be. We're out on deployment, in training, whatever. When that shoulder strap blows out, you're kind of shit out of luck. Where this system, everything is a single piece or single cut piece of that material, and you don't have to worry about that stuff blowing out. So it definitely helps kind of with the redundancy and the overall construction of the system, and reducing the failure points in the overall plate carrier. And I think that's one feature about this plate carrier that beats a lot of other plate carriers on the market, is how few failure points there are with it. Because when you look at all of the stitching overall, really all there is, you have a little bit of stitching up here at the top for the plate bag, you have the stitching right here on the side for the elastic and the mesh, and that's it. That is all there is really to it. So I think it's a huge benefit and a huge pro for this plate carrier compared to a lot of other products. But moving on, when it comes to the shoulder straps, they just Velcro together. You do have the cutaway system, so you can set and configure that stuff up if you want to be able to pull these cutaways out and then have the front plate bag and the rear plate bag just fall straight off your body. So that is a really nice feature with these, or with this plate carrier. They did incorporate that from the JPC 2.0. For the back plate bag, there are a couple of different ways that you can set up the cummerbund on this guy, and not really calling out EOD Fish, but kind of calling him out. I briefly watched his video, and I just want to kind of reiterate a point that he made when it comes to cummerbund setups and configurations. His preference is to run the cummerbund really low on the plate bag or the rear plate bag. Absolutely feasible. Nothing wrong with that at all. For myself and for my wife, because our torsos are pretty similar, we prefer running it just a little bit above the bottom of the plate bag bottom, so that way it just kind of fits and conforms to the body a little bit more comfortably. And then you can even run 3-strand cummerbunds, and the way that they all connect is you have these little slots and channels along the sides of the rear plate bag to where you can pass your MOLLE cummerbund through. So when it comes to that, and just kind of to reiterate his point, when it comes to the configuration of it, take the time, validate the whole entire plate carrier, how it's set up, how it's configured, how it feels on your body, and adjust up and down as needed for your personal preference and for what's most comfortable for you. There really is no right or wrong way when it comes to, I'm not going to say there's no right or wrong way, but there is a lot of adaptability in how you can shift that cummerbund up and down to fit your body, exactly the way that you want it. So just understand that you can do quite a bit with the cummerbund system and the setup of it to where it either sits very low or pretty high when it comes down to it. There are side plate pockets that you can purchase with these if you are looking at soft body to add onto the cummerbund, especially for law enforcement guys who may be required to wear that side soft body. I would recommend looking at the Trident Tactical and Technical Company, the T3 side panel pockets that you can add to the plate carrier versus the Crye Precision ones. The Crye Precision ones have little snaps in them and so on, to where you can kind of push different pouches in and out on the cummerbund when you have it all set up and configured, where the Trident ones don't have that. So it's a little bit more streamlined when it comes down to it. The dimensions are the exact same for the most part, but they run a more traditional MOLLE system versus kind of whatever Crye Precision is doing with their system. So I would recommend that. I think it does a little bit better, because when you want to start stacking and having internal mounted pouches as well as external mounted pouches on the cummerbund, especially with this Crye Precision one, you can do that a lot more easily and a lot more efficiently with those T3 pouches or the Trident pouches. So with that, the cummerbunds are set up to where they have the grease material running through the interior, and then it divides it to interior MOLLE and exterior MOLLE, which I think is a really, really cool feature for the cummerbund systems. Now, there is an elastic cummerbund that you can purchase for this. I actually think it's one of the cummerbunds that you can use for the JPC as well as the AVS that can be adapted and set up with this system. I wish, and hopefully Crye Precision hears this, I hope that they add elastic to the sections of MOLLE right here, because if they were to do that, you would be able to run a lot of additional or other panels on this system as well, possibly, considering the back panels that you can throw on here as well. So it's something that may or may not happen in the future. Hopefully it does. Hopefully they figure out a way to do it, because it would be really cool to be able to pass just a straight elastic cummerbund into the back, Velcro it to itself, and then be able to wrap it around to the front side of the plate carrier. So I have it set up on my Tier Tactical. I think there's a video up of it on the YouTube channel. If not, I'll get it up there here eventually. So with that, there are other cummerbund options. You can do 2-strand, you can do 3-strand, so you do have some options when it comes down to that. And like I said, just briefly, and to reiterate it, when it comes to the setup of the cummerbund, you have a For the 3-strand, you can run it up here at the top, or you can shift one down, and then you can start here roughly in the middle for the top strap for the cummerbund, and then the middle, and then the bottom if you want this to sit real low, kind of what EOD Fish was talking about in his setup and configuration. From there, you just run those straps into the interior of the plate carrier, and then you pull them out to the exterior to be able to tie everything off. There's a couple ways you can do that. This is just the way that I found works best for myself and for my wife, and is the most comfortable. Tried running it from the exterior all the way across, and it kind of took up the MOLLE space, so I intentionally kind of put everything here, or brought everything out in the middle here, so that way I could utilize the MOLLE for different radio antenna accessories, as well as some other equipment that we're going to be throwing on here for future videos for the website. So that's kind of the cummerbund setup. For the front side of the cummerbund and how it connects to the actual plate carrier, this is just going to, the cummerbund is going to have a little plastic section, I guess you could say. It's the grease material with the PVC kind of fabric material on top of it. You do have a slot here on the side. This will just push straight into the plate carrier and the little channel that's right here, and then this will Velcro to itself. And then if you need to, you can pull your little pull strap to make sure it's nice and tight, Velcro that down, and then just make sure you bring this little Velcro piece here all the way back over and secure everything to itself. Same with the other side. Comes over, passes into that channel, pull everything over, and then reattach your little handle back to it. I have seen guys run the First Spear tubes on this system as well. I know for the Shaw Concepts magazine panel that I have right now for this system, that is something I'm going to look at doing with this plate carrier. Hopefully it will work. It may not. I'm not quite sure yet, because I got to do a little bit more research on that before we get into that mod for this entire system. But you know, with that, you do have a little bit of MOLLE here at the bottom, so if you want to run different types of tourniquet holders or have special equipment that you need to connect to the bottom of the plate carrier, like those dangler pouches or med pouches and all that, you can do that still with this plate carrier, so that's still on there as well. For the interior of the plate bags, just that way you guys can see this, and this is something that I really like when it comes down to it. So this elastic right here, you can actually pass your push-to-talks through it. It will help retain those, so that is one really nice feature about this plate carrier. It will essentially kind of smash, I shouldn't say smash, but it will hold the PTT cable in between your plate and the plate carrier elastic right here. So you can do that with those, which is pretty cool. It's a nice little feature to help keep things nice and organized. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely take a look at it. I bought a ton of these the other day, but you can integrate these 2 or 22 by 2 millimeter O-rings into the MOLLE of the plate carrier to be able to help retain all of your cabling and all that for radio push-to-talks and antennas and all that stuff. It's a nice, simple, easy, very clean way to set all of your radio and communication cables up on the plate carrier. So that is something, if you want to check that out, there is another video for all of that. And then when it comes to how you insert the plates into the actual plate bag, I'm going to go grab a plate real quick and be right back. To set these plates up in the plate bag, you do have the Velcro here at the bottom. That will just open up like so, and then you'll take your plate and run that into the interior of the plate bag, and then just Velcro the bottom of all of that back together. The plate carrier itself, or the plate carrier, or the, my goodness, the plate bag itself will kind of mold around the plate carrier. When you do get this, it does kind of look funny without the plates in there. I'll grab the other one real quick. So when you get it and you're kind of looking at everything, you'll notice it kind of looks deformed up here at the top. Once you put your plates in there, it isn't going to look like that. So again, front pocket's the same exact thing. Open up that plate pocket, drop your plate in, Velcro everything back together. And you'll notice that it is a little bit kind of cleaner looking up at the top. So without the plate in there, it kind of wants to like deform and do some weird stuff up at the top of the plate carrier. Once you get those plates in there, it definitely takes its form back, and everything kind of just buffs right out. So with that, I'm pretty sure that's kind of really it as far as, you know, everything that I've noticed with this system. But just to kind of reiterate it, I don't want to take up any more of your time, or too much more of your time. But when it comes down to it, this is probably one of the most compatible plate carriers that I have ran in a very long time. The Tier Tactical is pretty competitive, the Pico DS Assaulter Light, when it comes down to it. So between this one and that plate carrier, very, very, very compatible with a lot of other products that are out on the market. As far as adaptability goes, I do think that this plate carrier beats the Tier in that aspect. You can definitely set this up for a very low vis, low profile concealment kind of plate carrier, and then scale it all the way up to, you know, that full mission profile that I was talking about when it comes to setting up the DAPS, the neck protector, the groin protector, and the back protector for those that are required to utilize those components or pieces of equipment. So with that, if you have any questions, I think I'm going to close it up there. Definitely leave a comment in the comment section. We will help you out in any way that we can when it comes to the setup and configuration of this guy. EOD Fish has a lot of experience with this as well, so if there's something that I don't know, I will divert those questions to him and have him kind of put his input in there as well. And then with that, like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.